All right, we're going to be reacting to some Musk universe commentary from the last week. Let's go.
You have to have like some sort of a Mike Benz style recall in your head where you can keep track of everything because it's just coming at you so fast, and Doge and Elon and this and that. I had some guy ask me last night, do you think that the Elon Musk and Donald Trump thing was staged? And I go, do you think it's staged? He's like, absolutely. I think it's all fake. I go, wow. Do you think that they made an agreement that Elon would say that you're on the Epstein client list and that's why you won't release the file? You think that Donald and Elon came to that agreement?
Yeah. Just sitting around over a Diet Coke thinking, that's a good idea.
They're all in on it. They're all in on it.
Yeah.
Like, are you out of your fucking mind?
What do you think about Musk's political party? I think there should be room. I guess I should say it that way. There should be room for another party.
100%.
I don't think there's room for a third party. There should be, but I just don't see it happening. We're too entrenched in the way that we do things, and you start splitting the vote. And I think, maybe it's, who knows, maybe you get more chaos than we've currently got.
Yeah, I mean, those two together, it's like, geez, I saw that coming. I was like, this is not going to work out.
Yeah.
When his son was with him in the Oval Office and the son told him to shut up. Told Trump to shut up. The little kid told Trump to shut up and he said, you're not the president. Oh my God. What is that?
It actually lasted longer than I thought it would.
Well, it destroyed Elon.
Yeah.
Destroyed his company. Yeah. Destroyed Tesla. I mean, and then on top of that, when people started like putting swastikas on Teslas and firebombing Teslas,
and
madness.
Yeah.
Madness. I mean, and then people were probably very reluctant to buy a Tesla because they were worried, like, hey, if I buy this fucking thing and park it somewhere, someone's going to key it.
I know somebody who actually covered up the Tesla insignia on their car.
Bro, I was behind someone the other day on the highway, and they had a fucking thing on their car that said, I bought this before Elon went crazy.
God.
Like, oh, God. You're conceding. You're giving in to the mob.
Yeah. And
you're giving in to the dumbest mob,
But there was an element also that was like, it's legitimate form of protest to blow up a fucking Tesla dealership, right?
That's
to
not
blow
legitimate.
up charging stations.
It's certainly not legitimate to destroy people's private property who are just paying a lease on a car that they probably had for 3 or 4 fucking years before any of this shit went down.
Yeah. But
it's nuts.
But they do it. If someone walks by and keys the car, right? Keys the car, a Tesla, and you can just I don't know why they all tend to look alike, but they do. And
they all
you just
do look alike.
saw that they're just like this sense of self-righteousness.
Yep.
Like I deserve to do this because I'm in the right. I'm on the side of good. So therefore I can do whatever the fuck I want. Right? So anyway.
Just mentally ill people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them in this country. And unfortunately, you can weaponize them.
Yeah, this is some pretty interesting commentary. I think in the United States, the sort of that, it destroyed Tesla comment, I don't think applies. I think we see that in the sales numbers. I think if you follow the entire broader auto industry, Stellantis is down, Mercedes is down, GM is down. There's a lot of softness in the car market. Now in Europe, there's definitely a lot more quote unquote brand damage against the Tesla brand for sure. I think those countries tend to be quite a bit more liberal. And I think they view Elon's involvement with the Republican Party with Trump, even though they're broken up now, as negative. But I do think over time what's going to happen is there's a lot of cycles to these things. Just in this quarter, for the third quarter, I think people are going to see Tesla's going to have a record-breaking quarter. They're probably going to have the biggest quarter ever, mainly because the EV tax credit in the United States is going to go away in the third quarter. But I think it's more commentary on the state of the media and the state of the polarization of politics more than anything. And we're only seeing the extremes. We're not really seeing the silent majority that is going to adopt the technology regardless of what the politics are long term. If we look at what happened with Amazon, when there were all those stories running around with Jeff Bezos, essentially running a sweatshop in his warehouses, or Apple, essentially driving kid labor and slave labor for children in the Congo because of cobalt. Although these things may be true at the extremes, it still didn't stop these technologies from being adopted. And I don't know if that's commentary on population or commentary more on the politics, right? So, but that's the reality of it. And I do think that Tesla sort of like story has been massively overblown from the brand damage perspective, because a lot of that is around what the individual says, not necessarily what they do. And I think something like that will have a lot less impact over time than some of the more permanent things that have happened in the past. So, and even though short to medium term, it might be a deal in some places, I think long term is honestly, it's not going to be a big deal. And I think people will see that through the adoption of self-driving cars, through the adoption of humanoid robots. I think in a couple of years' time, this will be just a figment in our imagination.
So is there enough accepted open data to train on? I mean, one of the things that Elon talked about in training the next version of Grok was taking the corpus of human knowledge and correcting it, which I find fascinating. And it's maximally truth seeking. Well, it's truth. But so how do you get to a corpus of knowledge that becomes the accepted baseline, factual, trustworthy, food source for these models?
So from an epistemological basis, the truth is the truth that's agreed to upon by context. And so the US has a certain vaccine schedule, and the UK has one. And it's codified in regulations and law.
Yes.
The data that you need to be a good general doctor is all common knowledge, and we have the data, but we need to transform it into knowledge and then wisdom. But all of that is public. And so the models I'm trying to build as a base are the public knowledge of humanity, the common knowledge, and then the cultural knowledge. And this becomes very important because what Grok and OpenAI's models and Anthropic models don't have is virtue and ethics embedded from the start. They add it at the end.
So I think the Epstein list thing is totally legit. And if we track Trump's sort of like how he's acting, I don't agree with that statement at all, because it's quite obvious that Trump is trying to hide something. I think his actions ever since the government came out and said that, the Epstein thing is done and we're going to move on. Trump, the way he has handled it has been horrific. And it aligns with the majority of the population. They view this very negatively. And even though he might be outperforming in the economy and outperforming with the conservative Republican base, the broader country is quite unhappy with how he has handled that. And it just so happens that Elon may have, I guess, jumped the gun a little bit by putting information out there that he was probably privy to that nobody else was privy to. But I think it's become quite clear that that is literally why we've seen what is happening with the Epstein lease with Trump. So I don't agree with that statement at all, actually.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
The models I have to teach my kids, I want to know what values and morals I'm teaching it from the get-go.
I want to ask you, because I think you're probably one of maybe the only guy on the planet thinking about this, but if the AIs start transacting with the AIs within 2 years, the AI obviously doesn't want a US dollar to buy food. What does it want? It wants GPU compute more than anything else. Are we going to allow the AIs to bid up the price? And is the price going to be priced in dollars, or is it going to be priced in GPU units or tokens or something?
Like a TPU is better than a GPU, is better than a Cerebrus. We don't know, except for they will be as efficient as possible. Again, Grok, which is just remember, Grok is actually a base level AI. Like, I use an AI that's all the top systems, and I use like hundreds of dollars a day. My AI is much smarter than everyone because I accumulate all of them. The AI that Elon can use, he can spend $1 million a day on, right? Literally $1 million of tokens. Mm-hmm. That's even smarter. So what you've got here is they will optimally, because it's already a top PhD across everything. It's already a top Harvard MBA. And so the only thing that we know is we're not sure how they will transact, but they can transact even without money. And we know they'll be able to transact with each other, and our system can't keep up with that. So what that means...
Not even close. Not even a prayer of keeping up with it.
And if one jurisdiction shuts it down, it'll just go somewhere else, and you won't know it's an AI on the other side.
Yeah, I think this is like such brilliant commentary from all sides, because it really highlights the black box that is AI, where we don't even know what currency AIs will use to transact with each other when they're looking to utilize each other. That's like crazy. And then the other side of it too is the alignment, the foundation where the AI is being built from. This gentleman's AI is being built on ethics at the foundation, which I think from a human perspective is a brilliant thing. Grok is being built from first principles, understanding the universe, which is more of a physics-based approach, which is also a beautiful thing. So it's almost like we have trying to understand reality as it is and trying to understand human morals as they are. And it's almost like a hybrid of those two seems to be the best one for humans, where this gentleman's AI is bolted on top of the Grok AI, and Grok becomes the foundation for everything. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but conceptually, if humans exist in reality, we are part of reality. But reality is defined by physics. And so if Grok's defined by physics, then in theory, its foundation will give way to morals, because morals exist in reality and they were manifested in reality. AI, this is AI, you guys. This is where AI is going. This is the kind of stuff we have to think through, right? So anyway, fascinating discussion. Y'all should go check this one out, actually, like all of them in this clip, but this one specifically was such a good discussion. It was on Pete Diamandis' podcast. Very, very good. We'll have a link for that in the description below.
Fun question. You and Elon seem to be somehow solid gamers. Is there a connection between being great at gaming and being great leaders of AI companies?
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I mean, we both love games, and it's interesting. He wrote games as well to start off with. It's probably, especially in the era I grew up in, where home computers just became a thing, in the late 80s and 90s, especially in the UK. I had a Spectrum and then a Commodore Amiga 500, which was my favorite computer ever. And that's why I learned all my programming. And of course, it's a very fun thing to program, is to program games. So I think it's a great way to learn programming, probably still is. And so, for example, the water access problem goes away because you can just use desalination. We have the technology, it's just too expensive. So only, fairly wealthy countries like Singapore and Israel and so on, like, actually use it. But if it was cheap, then all countries that have a coast could. But also you'd have unlimited rocket fuel. You could just separate seawater out into hydrogen and oxygen using energy, and that's rocket fuel. So combined with, Elon's amazing self-landing rockets, then it could be like sort of like a bus service to space. So that opens up, incredible new resources and domains. Asteroid mining, I think, will become a thing, and maximum human flourishing to the stars. So I try to maintain good relations with all the leading lab people. They're very interesting characters, many of them, as you might expect. But yeah, I'm on good terms, I hope, with pretty much all of them. And I think that's going to be important when things get even more serious than they are now, that there are those communication channels, and that's what will facilitate cooperation or collaboration, if that's what is required, especially on things like safety.
Yeah, I hope there's some collaboration on stuff that's sort of less high stakes, and in so doing serves as a mechanism for maintaining friendships and relationships. So, for example, I think the internet would love it if you and Elon somehow collaborated on creating a video game, that kind of thing. Right. I think that enables camaraderie and good terms. And also, you two are legit gamers, so it's just fun to that would be awesome.
And we've talked about that in the past, and it may be a cool thing that we can do. And I agree with you. It'd be nice to have kind of side projects in a way where one can just lean into the collaboration aspect of it, and it's a sort of win-win for both sides, and it's and it kind of builds up that collaborative muscle. Yeah, that's actually really fascinating commentary. I think like being really good at video games is like a good foundation for people to be really good at capitalism. I think, my mind has sort of shifted around this topic for a while as I get older. It's like, not even necessarily makes you better at AI. I think it makes you better at playing games. And in a lot of different ways, like it or not, sad or not sad, a lot of people could argue this is like actually a good thing because it enables people to enter the economy. Capitalism is kind of a game, and the game is to collect money, and you collect money by providing goods and services. And the better your good and service is, the more money you'll make. And the more time you put towards that, and the smarter you are at leveraging your time and leveraging other people when you're working with them to build better things, the more money you'll make. And money is points for life. And, from like buying things and selling things. And then the goal becomes get as many points as possible. But then the way capitalism works is it can actually bring the future forward by loans, by creating loans. Because loans are actively a sort of a lever society can pull that says, okay, we want to build a thing that's going to be very valuable, but we don't have the money now. So we're going to take it from the future and bring the future forward by taking out a loan and building it today. And that's a lot of startups. That's a lot of venture capital. That's how they function. They're kind of giving you a piece of the future in money to build the future today. And that's part of the game.
And if you do that, that's like a multiplier on the points, which is money. I've always wondered if AI can build a game based on real life, but like a capitalism game. Like, can somebody make a capitalism game? Because then that capitalism game will create so many billionaires. Because if people become really good at playing capitalism, then we'll have a bunch of people making so much money, because the game is not limited. Because again, we're borrowing from the future. And if time is infinite, then the future is infinite, which by default means money is infinite, right? So does that make any sense? Let me know.
Elon, after the company's latest earnings, the Musk company reported a 16% year-over-year decline in automotive revenue, which is hard because it's an automotive company. Adjusted net income fell 23% to $1.4 billion. This makes Twitter look like a great business. Sales of Model Y and Model 3 fell 12%, and Cybertruck sales fell 52%. I mean, that's gone right through the ground. I'll just mention the others. Alphabet's overall revenue grew 14% year-over-year, but the company increased its capital expenditures forecast by $10 billion, citing demand for its cloud products. Revenue for Alphabet's cloud computing business increased 32%. That was impressive. Finally, I had a many year ago discussion with Sundar Pichai about why they're not in the cloud computing business as much as they were a long time ago. Scott, any thoughts on any of these?
Well, you covered Tesla's earnings again. No automobile company in the world trades at a PE of 180 and has $1 trillion market cap. And at the same time, their revenues are declining faster than any automobile company in the world. And Musk knows those two do not stay in unison for very long. At some point, he either has to massively reignite growth or the stock is going to crash. And it feels like the
merger
latter.
Of some sort.
Or say XAI, or announcing a diner, or we're not a car company, we're doing robots. It's no accident they announced, by the way, which is a really cool idea. It will add no shareholder value, but it's an amazing marketing idea. This Tesla diner, it's no accident. I said this on Prop G Markets yesterday. The fact that he opened this diner just days before these earnings came out is, again, no accident. I'm not exaggerating. 48 hours ago when it came out, I said to Ed Elson on Prop G Markets, I said, that means he's about to puke on the earnings call and he's trying to get everyone to look away.
I think that is the most nonsensical statement I've ever heard, that a diner that has been planned for years is somehow timed with the release of an earnings call, an earnings report, when everybody knew that earnings wasn't going to be that good. Maybe Scott and I are looking into different things.
Elon's XAI is working to raise up to $12 billion in debt for a massive supply of NVIDIA chips to help train and power Grok. Valor Equity Partners, whose founder has close ties to Musk, has been working with lenders to secure capital to lease the chips for the company. This is a big fucking play. First of all, Musk doesn't partner with anybody like OpenAI and the others, Anthropic. Secondly, they're losing $13 billion. It's like crazy how much money this thing is losing and almost no revenues. And they're raising the money. And by the way, speaking of which, his money-making thing over at SpaceX, paperwork sent to investors discussing a tender offer included an interesting risk factor that Elon Musk may return to politics. This feels like
I love that.
This feels very shaky to me. Like, I can't believe
he's running on the hot topic ticket.
I know, but one of the things is, this is a lot. The $13 billion, he's raising 12. I mean, it's always good to bet on Elon, but I was like, this guy's a high wire act of all high wire acts here, around everything he's doing. And then he over at SpaceX, which we would assume would be his seat corn. He's his bearing wall, so to speak. He's really kicking it in the foundations in a lot of ways with this political stuff.
This guy understands the relationship between the means of production, revenues, profits, and also in an era of perception, where essentially the multiple you get on whatever revenues you have is purely a function of the perception of you as an innovator. And this is where he has, between SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter, he has about $1.4 trillion in value. The lion's share of that is $1 trillion in value from Tesla. And he looks at it and goes, this is a $50 billion company pretending to be a $1 trillion market cap company.
He knows it, yeah.
The only thing he can do to possibly keep that $1 trillion balloon from bursting is two words. First is A, second is I. So he is doing anything he can to try and figure out a way to establish the perception of AI leadership and wrap it around all of this shit. So he is not afraid to spend. He has the only way his empire stays worth $1.4 trillion and he maintains his status as the wealthiest man in the world, is to figure out a way for Tesla to get some perception or to get wrapped in an AI glove.
Yeah. So again, I think Scott, whom I really respect, he's brought a lot of brilliant insights. I think his bias against Elon is getting the best of him in this conversation. Tesla has been working on AI for a better part of 5 years. With the launch of Navigate on Autopilot, which then turned into FSD, the plan from the very beginning was to utilize the existing fleet of cars and use end-to-end neural nets to come out with an AI-based driving stack to drive the cars. And yes, it's taken forever, but if Scott took a ride in the robotaxi rides they have in Austin, I think he would quickly find out that you can't just do this overnight. And the valuation of the company on the stock market is a reflection of the technology actually working than trying to sell the company as an AI play. And this can be seen in the stock price in the last year, where you could have used every possible negative article against Tesla and Elon, and the stock price is up from a year ago. And that doesn't happen unless Wall Street fully understands what the hell is happening, because he's 100% right. If they're just a car company, a 180 PE price to earnings valuation on earnings doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. But Tesla's not a car company, and it hasn't been for a long time. And I think, based on the diner comment, my perception is that Scott doesn't follow the story as closely as an insane person like myself. And so he's probably speaking from a foundation that is incorrect. But again, I respect Scott. I really do. I think he's done great work. But I think in this specific topic, he's over his skis. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Bye.